Hello! We're today in Lithuania at Bražuolė river and we'll talk a bit about dam removal in Lithuania. I'm here with an environmentalist, Karoliną Gurjazkaitė, who is the person that is responsible for weir removal here in this place in Bražuolė. Karolina, please tell us something about this place. What is the river and why you decided that the weir that was once here should be removed?
So, as you probably know, Lithuania has not removed any barriers for a very long time, and we decided that we should get started somewhere. So we were looking for something that would be quite old, out of use, that the barrier would not have any owner and would not be maintained, and basically something that would be easy to remove, but also would be an environmentally valuable area. So it would actually, the removal would benefit the environment. And there was a lucky chance that here in Neris Regional Park, which is quite close to Vilnius, the capital city where I live, there is a Natura 2000 area where we are standing now here, and there is this beautiful river, Bražuolė river, which is also not only Natura 2000 river, but has a lot of valuable fish and other species that are not necessarily fish. It's a salmon river, so you get salmon spawning there a little bit. At least before that barrier removal, there was salmon spawning below. But this river mainly was known as a river for the sea crab. So we thought that by removing barrier here, we would benefit both the Natura 2000 area, the connectivity of the river. We would open up the spawning grounds for more fish, and it would be also an easy barrier to be removed.
So the Bražuolė river is a tributary of the Neris river.
Yes.
And you said that it is a salmon river. We are quite far inland, not far from Vilnius,
Yes.
But the sea trout and salmon are already here. They can go there, so it was the first barrier on this river.
Yes. So there's river Nemunas, which is directly connected to the sea. Then Neris is the tributary of the Nemunas, and it's literally in Lithuanian territory is a free-flowing river. So it's hundreds of kilometers go up until here, and there's no barrier. So this was actually the very first barrier.
It wasn't a very high barrier. Maybe I will take some video footage from
This
the
photo
process.
was taken in 2005, so this barrier was still in a much better shape in 2005 than it was before. I don't know if there's another picture, but it was actually, the rocks here were more ruined. This part was completely it was there standing, but it was also a matter of time when it would fall off. So what's important that this structure not only did not serve a significant purpose, like economic or whatever, but it was also quite unsafe. So people would actually like to come here to see these ruins. But particularly this structure was quite, if you climb on it and something happens, this can end up badly, sadly. Yeah.
We have to say that it is the first barrier removal that happened in Lithuanian history. I feel like I'm seeing now something really big. But we will go to the bigger dam removal place today, which is in Szałantach. Now we are in the second place in Szałantach, where there was a dam once, and it was the second barrier removed in Lithuania. It was removed last year, and what was that? How high was the dam?
The dam was 4 meters high, so it's quite big. It's a real dam.
Yeah, a real dam with a real artificial lake that we can see here, now drained. Now the river is flowing like a river, and we can see sediments that are non-vegetated. This dam removal opened river Szałantach to the next dam. How many kilometers? Approximately.
The next dam is Tuzay Dam upstream. I'm not quite sure how many kilometers, a few kilometers upstream, but it's also the removal opened up the tributaries. So if I'm right, I think it's around 46 kilometers of rivers opened. So it's together with the tributaries.
Yeah, all right. And it is also the opening of these rivers, of these tributaries for the diadromous fish. If you remove small wire like in Bražuolė, the river changes, but here you can see a whole landscape change in the center of a small town. So
Yes, and I think the local authorities, so the regional park authorities, the environmental authorities, which is also, I think, is very important to emphasize that when you have a strong environmental authority, it really takes care of a local environment, you know. So it's a very great initiative. But they try to, what is very interesting, that they try to find a balance between community needs and natural needs. So of course the priority for nature here was to restore the river connectivity and open up the habitats, etc., etc. But what is interesting, that similar to what has been done in Estonia, they are making some forward there like a pond where people could swim. So it will be like an little bit of a sort of artificial smaller than the whole reservoir, was just a little site where people could use for swimming. So sort of, you know, the also what they were saying, that the whole reservoir here, although it was potentially kind of, people would have wanted to swim here, you know, they live in a town, they go swimming, but it was, as you can see, there was so much sediment, and so it was totally unsuitable for swimming for quite a while.
So it's the project that makes the river more suitable for fish, but also doesn't mean that for the town it will be something bad, as many would expect probably, that when you remove a dam, you remove a lake, and there will be another one for the people. So it's quite cool about this project. So the sediments that were established here by the time of a dam working is mud, a bit of sand, but real river bed here, as you can see, is mostly gravel. So it's quite interesting that the river is cleaning itself of the mud. So that's it in Szałantach. As you can see, the river is getting better. And now I will talk about further plans for dam removal in Lithuania with Jonė Leščinskaitė from the Ministry of Environment of Lithuania. So hello, Jonė.
Hi.
I would like to ask you a few questions. How does dam removal in Lithuania looks like from a perspective of a person who is the policymaker, who is in charge of that?
Right now it looks very complicated and challenging because we don't have enough legal ways to remove dams. There's not much pressure for dam owners to remove the dams, and we don't have that much right as well as the ministry to do that. So it's just like, it's one of the ways we can improve rivers, but it's not the preferential way right now. So we are trying to do it slowly, step by step. We are investigating all the dams and seeing their potential, and right now there's a study ongoing to evaluate every dam in the ecological perspective and socio-economic perspective. So we know which dams we can remove the easiest and it would have the largest impact on the ecosystem. And we're slowly getting towards the policy change, which would help us a lot with the actual dam removals, because now it's really complicated, and hopefully in maybe 2 years, let's hope for that, it'll be much easier.
Okay, because now you have removed 2 barriers in Bražuolė and in Szałantach, the bigger one. And do you have some plans for some next barriers, like for this year or another, or you're just in this process of planning, making policies, and you don't have any?
Yes, right now there are no concrete plans to remove any actual dams. There is one project coming up this summer where they'll be removing an old dam, but replacing it with the like a nature-friendly fish pass, because it's quite a complicated situation. There's a lot of structure around it, but I believe it will be much better for the river anyway. But in a perspective of a few years, I think we'll be removing a lot more dams because we are asking for more money, and we are making the ideas, and we're trying to evaluate which ones could be the next ones. But it's nothing concrete yet, so it's hard to say. We know which dams are making the most damage and which ones we really want to see gone or adapted, but we're just not there yet with the political side. There's still a lot of discussions going on.
Just before we started filming, you said to me about one particular dam in Kaunas at Nemunas River, which is the biggest dam in Lithuania and doesn't even have a fish pass.
Yes, so we have a situation where the largest river is blocked right in the middle, and there's the largest dam, and it blocks half of the rivers in Lithuania. So there's a lot of potential if we ever manage to connect these rivers. There could be good salmon places and trout places. But right now, there's not enough pressure for the hydropower plant to build a fish pass, even though it was in the constructional technical details when the dam was built. But now municipality is showing some initiative. However, it could be very political. They show initiative every few years when there's election coming up that they will build a fish pass, but normally nothing happens. It's all in the talks. So now we renew the talks, but we'll see if it happens or if we actually have to put more pressure in the policy and get the fish way that way.
Yeah, it's quite similar to the situation that we have in Poland with our biggest dam, like maybe not the highest, but the Włocławek dam that cuts off 90% of Vistula catchment. It has a fish pass working for 5 years now, but it's working so badly that it's just awful.
That's the thing. It could be what they're thinking is a very technical fish pass, and me and some other environmentalists, we don't see it as a very good potential. It could be even more damaging for the fishes. It needs to be a very natural, nature-friendly fish pass, so it wouldn't be like dangerous for fish. The fish would find the way to cross it and to get to it, to cross the reservoir, and so on, and not get into turbines as well. So you have to think about a lot of things, and you can't just risk it and try it and see what happens and then find out that it's all mince from salmon, and like you spend a lot of money and a lot of good initiatives, and now it's gone. So we're thinking about nature-friendly fish pass, which takes more time and space.
Of course. Of course. And you are talking about dam removal as a mean of river restoration, for sure, but is river restoration and fish migration restoration the main purpose of planning dam removal in Lithuania?
Yes, I think it's a complex of all the reasons. So fish migration is very important, but it's also very tightly connected with the, in general, good quality of the river. But we care about the whole ecosystem. We care about other fish species that don't migrate, but maybe need to move up and downstream just to survive, and also mollusks that no one really talks about in Lithuania. No one really sees them. Or other, invertebrate species that could benefit a lot from the running rivers. And there's bird species, there's a lot of habitats that are connected to running rivers and the whole hydro cycle, like floods and so on. So we think about it more holistically than just fish migration. I really think so, but the fish are important. We talk about it a lot, and I think much more than in general, the nature.
Yeah, and don't you have problems like in Poland when you want to remove a small weir that is 1 meter high? Every authority will ask, and what about water retention? What about flooding?
I believe that's one of the problems, and there's a lot of misconceptions and just not enough information for people to find out what happens after the dam is removed. And that happens in Szałantach, and we're very unlucky that after the removal we have massive floods in Szałantach, in Szałantah's river, and people are seeing like this is the cause. It happened because of the river dam removal. So now we'll have to inform people what happens in the healthy river floods. It has to. That's how that's their function, their ecosystem. It depends on it. So, of course, there is, and there's one more dam removal than we're thinking about, and people are saying that dam is protecting from floods. But the floods are happening every year with the dam. So, it's kind of you have to get some concrete data, some scientists, some models to show that really the dam don't really has this function. At least in Lithuania, we don't have dams that have this function of preventing the floods. It's more just in the mental state.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, probably that's all.
Good.
I wanted to hear from you. So thank you very much. So that's it for today. I hope you liked the video, my first in English. See you next week in more typical Polish video.